And it seems that a quorum is present. I call this meeting of the Westwood Library Board of Trustees to order. It is Monday, October 19th, and we are doing this meeting via Zoom, remote. And at the outset, I ask, does anybody have any recording devices?
I'm recording for Westwood Media Center.
Right.
For
Other than
upload.
Tricia recording the meeting for Westwood Media?
No.
Okay. The meeting is called to order. The first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from our September 14th, 2020 meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Does anybody have any additions, subtractions, amendments, deletions?
I have one small edit, and it's really more for just going forward. Just so we, Torsten's name is spelled with an H. It's Thorsten, although it's not pronounced as the. It's a Torsten. So.
Okay.
All right, so we'll amend the minutes to reflect this accurate spelling of Thorsten's name. Any further? No? The chair will accept a motion to approve the minutes of the September 14, 2020 meeting.
Make a motion.
Trustee Mary Beth Person, seconded by Trustee
Second.
Marcy Phelps. Call the roll. Trustee Cole?
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't
Okay.
there.
Okay, Trustee Persons?
Aye.
Trustee Thornton? Trustee Macy
I
Phelps?
abstain too.
Aye. Trustee Van Au?
I voted aye.
Yep, and the chair votes aye. So with one abstention,
No, I think we had did we have two abstentions?
Oh, did you abstain, Maureen?
Wendy.
Oh, Wendy, I'm
Wendy
sorry.
abstained.
Right, with two abstentions, 3 in favor, 4 in favor rather, 2 abstentions, the minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the director's report, which was previously submitted by Trish. Trish, is there anything you'd like to highlight or emphasize before we have open for any questions from the trustee?
I guess one of the things to highlight is that Molly Rippertello will be leaving Westwood to take a position as the assistant director for the Walpole Public Library effective the end of this month. She wrote one of the most beautiful letters indicating her intent to pursue this other position that I've ever read. So I think kudos to Molly for taking on a large new responsibility. Wish her all the best and thank her for everything she's done here in Westwood. So I guess that would be my lead. And then in terms of other things on the director's report, just the popularity of curbside service and the outreach to the senior population that Karen Gallagher and Claire Connors have embraced, really. They've done a tremendous job reaching out to those individuals who are most at risk and really socially isolated, and made a big difference, I think, in library services and how they're delivered. So
Well, I know that there'd be a farewell from Molly on the 30th.
yes, yeah, 11 o'clock, cupcakes and individually wrapped packages. And
Well, even for those of us who may not be able to make it, please express the gratitude and appreciation of the board to Molly for her services and for what she's done to upgrade the services of the library, and that we wish her well in her future endeavors, and we know whoever takes her place will have big shoes to fill. And also please express our gratitude to Claire and Karen and the rest of the staff for their success with the curbside and for the outreach that they've been doing to the community. Right now, there's I think the seniors and a lot of people really, the library is so important to them right now in this time of somewhat social isolation.
Yeah, I would also like to just recognize Molly officially that she she brought the the adult programming so far since she has come here, and the book clubs and her use of technology, and it's just been tremendous. Really, she's done a tremendous job, and we're very, very grateful for everything she's done, as well as being such a pleasant person and a helpful and incredibly eager person to want to help the patrons. Really outstanding job.
Thank you.
And also thank you to especially to Karen and Claire, because that is a really significant contribution for folks who are shut in and will continue to be shut in the next few months.
Yeah.
And to you as well, Tricia. Once again, it just shows the type of staff that you've built. And it's a credit to you as the director as well.
Well, thank you.
Any questions for Tricia on the director's report?
No, I think that's pretty much.
I was asking the trustees, anybody have any? No? No, seeing none, we will move on to the next item, which is the staffing update. Trish?
Yep, so we have posted the position of Head of Adult Services, and the first day it posted, there were 10 applicants. So that was on Thursday of last week. So we've seen a lot of interest and a lot of very good quality options out there, I think. A lot of librarians that have been furloughed in a number of other libraries. So I think that we're going to be able to fill that position much more easily than we did the teen librarian. So, the staff have been just exceptional throughout this entire COVID-19 rollout of the phased reopening. I think teamwork, it doesn't even begin to sort of describe how they've worked. We are going to be having a Halloween, week of Halloween festivities that are all either virtual or outdoors. And, I think that the children's department's really anxious to start that kind of spooky Halloween programming, but there won't be a costume parade. So, if kids show up and they are going to be asked, if they want to stand on the porch and get their photo taken with the decorations, but, maybe wave to their favorite children's librarians. But staffing, we hope to have the position, it was posted on the town website and at the MBLC. So it closes in 3 weeks, and hopefully we'll get some great applicants.
So you'll have an update for us at the next meeting.
It should, yes.
Thank you. Any questions for Trish on the staffing update or the posting? No, seeing none. The next item on the agenda is the phased reopening of municipal facilities. And I know Trish has been in the loop on this, so why don't you?
So, and I apologize, I ran out of time. I had a bit of an altercation with poison oak, and found myself having to go to a medical appointment today unexpectedly. But in March through May, we were closed technically, but we were open to the public virtually. And then at the end of May through June, we had the proposed phased reopening that was for contact-free curbside. And we rolled that out on June 29th with, more than 300 to 400 bags picked up per week by patrons. So in the last 30 days, 886 of those requests were put through on the Capira app that Minuteman provided. So plus the additional ones that are same day calls or just calls to circulation for request of items. So in a month, over 1,000 pickups of materials, which is, that's unheard of, kind of an unprecedented in a library of our size, in a town of our size. By contrast, Milford had, on average 30 to 50 a week. So that's kind of where we are. We have opened for limited express browsing by appointment. It's a slower rollout than I anticipated. Individuals who have taken advantage of it are thrilled to be back in the building, surrounded by books and DVDs and materials that they can check out and look through and curate themselves. The children's selection has been extremely popular. One day last week, I think one whole shelf just went out with one family of new books and new materials. But I don't know that it's not meeting what the demand of the town is likely to be in terms of what people are looking for. So I think that we need to come up and address a broader plan. We do have, I've spoken with all of the department heads and some of the staff, and we're working on sort of next steps for a broader, more expanded reopening. That being said, if you look at the surrounding towns and say, well, what else is happening in our, little corner of the world? Norwood basically opened, as did Holliston, early October, end of September, and they have limits for the amount of people in the building. Norwood was about 30, but they haven't really met that threshold yet at all, so they haven't had to restrict any entry to the building. And Holliston is kind of the same. It's sort of 20 people-ish, and they haven't had any sort of queue for the entry, and they haven't had any issues, known issues with any exposure of staff or patrons to COVID. That being said, Dedham Public Library today announced on Instagram that they were closing because a staff person had some contact potentially, and they were closing for testing. So they suspended curbside today via Instagram. Another one, Medfield opened on September 10th for limited browsing on the first floor only, limited times of the day, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. They are also doing the contact-free holds, but they're staffing the building and are available to take requests or to answer questions by phone on a more full-time basis. And other libraries, Brookline is just doing curbside holds, and that's where they are for now. And until January, they don't see any change in that. Our COA is right now closed to the public, except for limited mediated one-on-ones for fuel assistance, but I'm not even sure that there's many of those. I think a lot of those are done via the phone and emails. So I reached out to Lena. I don't know yet when the COA will be reopening to the public. My guess is it won't be until at least January 1st. And even that may be under review. Town Hall has, and Carvey Street has reopened by appointment. So that's the other first sort of phase reopening in the town. They had some construction still at Town Hall, so I think that slowed them down a bit. But every town and city approaches it differently. We have been getting requests for people from day one, when are you going to be open? When can I come in? When can I, have a computer and sit at a desk? And so I think those are the things that we're working on, putting together pretty solid plans for that, and still maintain curbside pickup, because that seems and will be a priority, I think, for a lot of people just going forward. It's been very convenient. You just swing up, run in, off you go. So beyond that, I think the staff has been doing an excellent job, maintaining social distancing measures. The custodians have done yeoman's work, really, in terms of, making sure that the building is clean and sanitized, and it's a tribute to the staff in the town that, that there is such a great work ethic of maintaining this and being.
So it sounds like there's steps that you and the staff seem to be thinking are feasible.
We hope to put it forward. I need to get more plexiglass and have that installed by the circulation desk. That would be probably the only thing that's not in place right now. We do have the individual shields for staff to use when we get to a more open entry option. I think, we'll see, the browsing was a great learning curve. It certainly has been much less dangerous or much smoother than I think there were a lot of concerns initially, but it's gone very smoothly. So
Tricia, if you did have a more, more broad opening plan, and you say, for instance, you were to allow a limited number of people in the building, would you have to have more signage, for instance, like to only allow certain number of people in an area at a certain time, or would you just leave it up to people to stay socially distant? Or, I'm thinking about signage and stuff.
I think we had, you can put signs up and people pay attention to them once in a while. I think that we would have a greeter kind of at the door to limit the influx of the number of people. Right now, we're doing it by appointment, and I think there's a gap there, because if you have to make an appointment, then we get all of these apologies via email. I'm so sorry, I made an appointment, I couldn't make it. I think it's very constrictive. So trying to get to a point that sort of maximizes flexibility, but also still maintains security. And for indoor gatherings, the limit is still 25.
Okay.
And, we had 10 staff in the building, at any given hour yesterday. So that really does limit the amount of public access that you could provide. And I think we would still want to have a timed entry or a timed suggestion that, 30 minutes if you're browsing. I do think that having study areas set up for individual scheduled areas would be a next almost easy step, that we could have, a 3-hour block or a 4-hour block, and you sign up for it and you can stay at that table in that space for, let's say, from 9 to 1 or from 3 to 7. And then between 1 and 3, much like the curbside or the browsing, we have a reset for cleaning and sanitization. And we can create socially distant spaces that would maximize the area, the square footage of that second floor, potentially. And that's the direction I think that we would go in for, personal study, not group study, but just individual study.
And I think all those UMass students that are home would really appreciate that.
Probably.
They're looking to get out of their bedrooms.
Yes.
So Tricia, it sounds like you're looking to move toward opening up more of the library, but in thinking about how you regulate the number of people, would you still be looking for people to reserve time, or something a little bit more, just saying first come, first serve, or maybe some sort of hybrid in terms of managing that?
So for the actual setting up a time, a study space for longer than a 20 to 30 minute browsing period, that would need, I believe that would need to be set up.
Yeah. Okay. And what about for browsing?
For browsing, it seems as if we might go down the road of, first come, first serve, but again, with limited hours, I think that's going to be important so that we can get the staff, to have that break off the desk and reset the building, reset the bathrooms, all of that.
Right. I wonder, is there any possibility to kind of do a hybrid where if you know that you want to go browse at a certain time, you could still sign up and reserve, but maybe, you'd leave some slots that aren't reserved, so a certain number of people could just show up?
That's a good
It
option.
might be more complicated than is worth it, but maybe there are some people where, they wouldn't sign up because they're not sure, but if they know that there's,
Yeah.
if they happen to be free and they know that they can get in, they might come by or something,
Yeah.
take their chances.
Well, we can look at that, it's
yeah.
still, it's very much, a work in progress, but.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I
I
know,
mean, I think,
the
go ahead, Mary.
I was just gonna
No,
say
go
the
ahead.
approach that you've taken, I think has been a good one in that obviously the safety of patrons and staff is of utmost importance in what we do. And I was looking at some area libraries over the weekend and also found, yeah, it's a range, but it feels like we're kind of in that range. We're not, we're not on one end or the other. And I think what we need to do is understand what are we, what kind of guidance do we get from the town and the state to make sure we're adhering to that, which clearly we are. It's good to look at our peers because that gives us other ideas. And I know I, as a trustee, rely heavily on your judgment because you know the staff, and we want to make sure that the staff are comfortable and that we're getting, good feedback from patrons, that patrons feel comfortable. And it feels like this stepwise way you've gone has been, has been the way to go. You take a small step, see how it goes, reevaluate, and then look for the next, look at
Yeah.
what to do next. And it seems like you and the staff are carrying us forward in the right way.
I also want to add that, not, unfortunately, I read today, someone said, I don't know, if it was an epidemiologist, someone said over the weekend that the next 3 months, 6 to 12 weeks could be the
Wow.
worst that we have seen in the whole thing, whole
Yep.
pandemic. So, I don't know, maybe we can keep that in mind and especially be
Yeah.
in discussions with the town
Oh,
before we, so before we just, to take the next step to make it a broader opening, and in the sense of protecting, but because, really when you do break it down, if you can only have 25 people indoors and you have 10 staff, and then if you do, I like the idea of providing the independent study space. That it is really necessary for people, and especially since coffee shops are closed and everything else. So, but if you let 10 of them come in, you only have 5 of them, and then you only have 10 people who can come in, right? You don't have that many people, especially if they reserve spots for 3 hours to study.
right. And that, it's, at some point, it was up to 40% of capacity, and we will be coordinating all of this with the town and the Board of Health, and, it's still very much, every week it changes. I heard today that we're in the 3rd surge already, and I don't know if, I thought we were only in the 2nd, but.
I thought what Mary Beth said was very true, but keeping in mind that a lot of places, some of the other libraries that you've mentioned, have already decided that they're only going to stay with curbside or hold through January. So
At least.
we're meeting needs of a lot of people in the community. You're not necessarily going to meet everyone's needs, but I think some of these ideas sound, good to consider carefully as you move forward.
Yes. Yeah, I think that what I'd like you to see you do, Trish, is to continue to work with the staff and with the town officials and come up with some, recommendations of steps we could take to broaden the opening. We're going to meet again November 9th, and we may even have a better picture by then as to what the surge is, if there is a surge, that sort of thing. But certainly, I would like to see, develop some ideas as long as you have staff buy-in, because, we need to make sure that the staff is, and the people in the town, Chris Coleman and the selectmen and Board of Health, that they're consistent with the town's overall strategy. But let's do that. And I know that we have some members of the public here today, and so ordinarily we would do some public participation at the end, but since this is such an important topic, if the trustees don't object, I invite anybody who's participating in the meeting as a member of the public, if they want to speak or add anything on the phase reopening?
And it looks like we have a staff member as well. Tricia?
Yes,
Looks like
Karen Gallagher. Yeah.
No?
Oh, Nadia
Tricia,
raised her
Tricia, how do
hand.
people request? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, Nadia Fabrizio, I just want to thank you for your consideration regarding the public participation. I am basically sitting and just listening, but I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, this is the most important issue that we're dealing with right now, obviously, as trustees, is how to provide services as safely as possible. And so anything that our patrons have, any comments is welcome. So I appreciate that. Any further discussion on this question? Members, trustees, okay, then we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the update on Wentworth Hall, Islington Branch Library. Trish.
Okay, so as you may know, tower construction is going to be the general contractor. I believe they have signed the contract with the town and are moving forward with plans not only to bring in some of the utilities, underground utilities before winter sets in, and also to get some of the footings for the elevator and the mechanicals set up. And there's a deadline of November 2nd that we need to have Wentworth Hall panelized in order for the town to be consistent with the agreement that was made with the developer. So that the contractor's aware that that's a priority, and I'm sure will be that Nora Loughnane and the town will be monitoring that very closely. We are also in the process of vacating the Islington Community Center in preparation for the turnover of that building as well to the developer. And Claire and her staff are spending last week and this week boxing materials and getting ready for that pop-up library to be temporarily popped down until such time as the new location is available and ready for occupancy. Which is, in theory, Jim McCarthy has told me that it's a 9-month project, so we're going to be in there in June, so that'll be great. But that's not been my experience with public construction, so we'll see. But I'm sure that everyone will look forward to the new Wentworth Hall when it's renovated and reimagined. So.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on the Islington Ranch? Oh, Trish, I appreciate the fact that you stay on top of it. So,
we have bi-weekly meetings, so
yes.
it's great.
And obviously, if anything comes up in between the meetings, please reach out to us. But
Will do.
it's like that's okay. The next item on the agenda is something that Trish wanted to raise about the concept of a poet laureate. So I'll let you tell us what it is that you had in mind. We just want to have a kind of general discussion of the concept.
Yes. So the town administrator was approached with a request to pursue an opportunity in the town of Westwood, similar to those in other communities, of establishing a poet laureate position for the town. And as part of that position, many of the other cities and towns have had a teen poet laureate, or what's called an ancillary position of teen poet laureate. And the idea was that if we could tie the poet laureate into the schools and really make poetry and literacy that connection between different grades and different levels of students, that might be an opportunity to introduce a new program and a new initiative. The town hasn't discussed it yet. I don't even think the select board has taken it up yet, but it was a question whether or not the trustees might consider supporting that initiative, and then always the question of funding or a stipend, and how would that be determined, and would there be any sort of sense from the board that, we would be looking for either to the Friends or to another agency for a commitment to fund that stipend for a period of time? So, Mary Beth?
Sure.
That's a question.
I would like to suggest that we refer this funding issue to the 21st Century Foundation. I would think this would be an outstanding
Yeah.
use of 21st Century Fund monies, and I would think that it would be a really lovely program to build around.
Mm.
Just the content, the exposure. I could foresee a lot of different things that could come about with this type of thing. I think it's a fabulous idea. I think you did a wonderful job giving us the materials for it. And it would really enhance Westwood, really enhance the library, experience and experience for all the people in Westwood too, the school children as well. And I think we could do it in such a way where we could provide stipend, but that stipend could be done via sponsorship, shared sponsorship between multiple entities, both the fund as well as outside organizations. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you. Anyone further? Anyone else?
I would second what Mary Beth said. This is a clear example. A lot of times when we talk about, well, what's appropriate for the fund to fund, what constitutes something additive as opposed to simply replacing what taxpayers would pay for. And it's not always easy to make that decision. It's not always a bright line. And this one seems clear to me. So I do like that idea, Mary Beth. Thank you for raising that. Another thought came to mind, although it's outside the library, but since it seems like there would be a schools component, but Tricia, not as an official trustee recommendation, but another thought that occurred to me is that it also seems like something that the Foundation for Westwood Education, formerly known as WEF, would often support. I know when I was on that board, we would often fund, say, the first year of this sort of initiative, WEF would, at the time, in order to kind of get it started and see if it had legs. So that might be another thing just to suggest to them as another resource. But I like the idea of bringing something to the 21st Century Fund, and maybe we should put that on next month's meeting to discuss that.
It's my sense and
pending whatever, like, I'm guessing there would need to be some sort of involvement with the select board and so on, if I guess we're going to name a poet laureate.
We'd have to have a committee, and I think that would be part of a future discussion.
It'll be longer term then, yeah. So
I think it was just to
November.
get a sense of the board.
Yeah.
Chris had asked me to sort of just, see what the temper of the board might be for exploring this.
based on what I've heard, and it seems that the sense of this board is that it's something we would like to pursue, and that you should back to Chris and also to the selectmen and tell them that that we think that it's worth pursuing, and we have some potential avenues for funding.
Okay.
Anybody object to that message being conveyed?
No. Would we be looking at the teen poet laureate as well, or, working together?
I would say yes.
No?
I think yes, yeah.
Yes, good.
I would think that I would just ask that as part of a committee. I mean, obviously, if the 21st Century Foundation is going to be, the fund is going to be part of this, and especially coming up with funding, that then someone from that is on the committee.
Yes.
So.
And hopefully someone who knows and loves poetry.
Well, personally, I was also thinking that maybe someone else who could be part of a poetry would be Eric. We could find a job for Eric.
We could find for Eric, yes.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah,
I thought of that.
He would certainly want somebody with a knowledge of Shakespeare sonnets.
Shakespeare, that's right.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? So Trish, you have what you need?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, great. The next item on the agenda is the report from the Friends of the Westwood Public Library, Jessica and Maureen.
So they haven't had a meeting since we met last, but they do have their annual meeting
Yep.
tomorrow
Oh,
at 7 o'clock. It's a Zoom meeting. And if you want to be on it, you have to go to the Westwood Public Library website, go on to and you have to, what I did is I went to the calendar, I clicked join event, and then they will send you the Zoom info. And it comes via Eventbrite.
Event-
Everbright?
Eventbrite.
Eventbrite.
Right.
Eventbrite.
Right.
So yeah, I got my information today. I signed up and I got it. So
I also did that a
Good.
while ago. And because it's their annual meeting and the speaker is Lynn Vitti, author
Yes,
and poet and Westwood resident. They also have sent out a mailer, which you may have
Yep.
received.
got it.
So we talked about that at the last meeting, after their meeting. So they've gone out with that. They were undecided, but had moved forward.
yeah, I got mine.
That's about it, I think, right now.
Anything further? Any questions for Jessica or Maureen on the Friends? Oh, okay, thank you both. We'll move on to the next item, which is the update, speaking of the 20th Century Fund
Yes.
from
Yes.
Mary Macy
Yeah,
Phelps.
thanks, Mr. Chair. Yes, the 21st Century Fund did meet right before the trustees meeting tonight. And we had another passing of the baton. As you know, in July, we said goodbye to longtime member and obviously library supporter, Don Friedel, and welcome Torsten Becker as a community member and at-large member of the fund or director of the fund to help manage the investments. This evening, our other longtime fund director, Eric Gutterson, who we were just speaking about, the great lover of Shakespeare and great library supporter, has also decided that he wanted to pursue some other opportunities in his volunteer work, and also because he has served the library for so long. Eric felt it was time to bring some new blood in. And we were very fortunate that resident Brian Mulvey agreed to join. He is another investment professional. So tonight, the 21st Century Fund Board appointed Brian as Eric's replacement, essentially effective this evening. So we have two local, very well qualified investment professionals who will pro bono manage the endowment. And seem to be just lovely additions to and thoughtful additions and new younger blood getting onto the board. So that was wonderful. The fund continues to perform well, and we also talked about fundraising because we do need to do a certain amount of community outreach, both to show that we receive, have the support of the community, and also to make sure that we have small donations as well as large as well as large ones that we get in order to maintain our status as a 501c3 organization. So the fund did decide to try to move forward with that again this year. So we're going to be working on that between now and our next meeting in November. I know last year we did get some feedback from the Friends with some suggestions about how we might differentiate future outreach letters from their mailing. So we'll be trying to perhaps change up a little bit the way we format it and how we go out. But we are planning to do an outreach letter. We're also looking at potentially other ways that we might work with and approach local foundations or some of the organizations, such as a Roach Brothers or a Wegmans, maybe some of the banks, to support the fund. And so we've talked about some ideas related to that we'll be thinking about as well. Mary Beth or Paul, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Right, Mary Beth, I want to thank you for once again agreeing to be the treasurer, and you
Yes.
for signing up for another year as a president.
Happy to.
Uh,
Thank you.
Bob will be the scrivener as the
Yes.
clerk of the foundation. So,
Questions?
any questions for Mary or Mary Beth or myself relative to the fund? No, seeing none. The next item on the agenda is the budget fiscal year 21 capital budget request for fiscal year 22. Trish?
Okay, so our fiscal budget is on track. I will say that Molly has sort of in view of the fact that there may be a transitional phase when we don't have an adult services librarian, she has put together a lot of materials in carts for consideration for purchasing. So if you look at the budget, the adult book line, it looks 72% expended, but it's actually a lot of that is things that are coming out but haven't yet been published. So everything's good. And then the capital requests were due to PM Dukeman's office on September 22nd, I believe. We did submit capital requests, and I haven't heard back yet on sort of the status of any of the 4. And they were prioritized with end user technology being our continued funding objective, but also some other items that the staff had asked that I put forward. One of the biggest ones will be the sorter, the Biblioteca
Right.
Sorta, which is now going to be going into its 9th or 10th year by the time that capital program. Yeah, isn't that hard to believe? So.
Okay. And so everything, we're on track with the budget.
I believe so, yep.
Yeah, great. Okay. Any questions on the budget or the capital budget requests? I know we talked about them at the September meeting. So any questions? No? Okay, the next item on the agenda is the library holiday schedule.
I still don't have that question answered yet, so I'll defer that one till next month. And
So, all right, so we'll put that on for November, the November meeting. Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of acceptances and expenditures. You all received the expenditures and acceptances report dated October 19th. And everybody's had an opportunity to look at that. Any
Yeah,
questions?
I think I had, you know me, Tricia, the office resources state aid. I was just curious.
the teen librarian desk in the.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
And the other, the Sweet Green, it's over the course of the summer, I had a couple of opportunities
Yeah.
to sort of make Fridays a special day, but we had an all staff meeting. And rather than, a box lunch from Roche Brothers, which is what we usually do, we went another route and had salads and just yummy lunch from Sweet Green. So it's one of my favorite restaurants now.
I think, given the circumstances we're all dealing with this year, I think we need to do those, those little things I think go a long way toward boosting people's morale and, which helps people be productive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, the chair will accept a motion to approve the acceptances and expenditures on the report dated October 19th.
I'll make a motion.
We'll call the roll. Trustee Cole? Trustee Pearsons?
Aye.
Trustee Thornton?
Aye.
Trustee Macy Phelps?
Aye.
Trustee Van Au?
Aye.
And the chair also votes aye. So I will sign the acceptances report on behalf of the board and we will submit it to the selectmen.
Good.
The next item is new business. And so since we do have, as I noted earlier, some members of the public here, as the first part of new business, I invite anybody who wants to have any public participation or have any questions or concerns or comments they'd like to address to the trustees.
Tricia, how do people raise their hand?
I can just ask them to unmute.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not seeing any chats. I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. Fine.
Can I ask, is this just public? I'm sorry.
I just would start with the public and then we'll go to
Okay.
new business. But I wanted to give the members of the public who, if they had any questions or comments about anything that we've done so far this evening, but it doesn't appear that they do. And as always, we always invite welcome public participation, and it's always our tradition when we do have a member of the public or members that we invite them to ask any questions or make any comments. Seeing that, then I will move to the trustees, new business.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Trustee Persons.
I have a question that I'm not sure if it's necessarily new business, but I was on a website, another library's website, and at one point, and it immediately came up, kind of like when you're on customer service and it's a live chat. And
We
it's
have that. We have that now.
you do.
We
Okay.
do. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Wow.
Live
Because
Answers, it's live. It went live 2 weeks ago. Erin McGrady was instrumental in getting that feature implemented with June Tulakangas, and yes,
Great.
it is live. Yep.
Great, guys. I was gonna say, is it too invasive, or what's happening? Is like, are you getting like pecked at all day, or?
Well, if you aren't able to be open, have the chat line open, it'll go to an email mailbox. But we do have some staff that are still remote working remotely due to underlying medical issues. So some of their off desk time has been used to support that feature.
Great.
So
Great.
when does that come up, Tricia?
If you're on our homepage, it's chat with the librarian, and the box will be, it's illuminated or lit up when it's, available. And if not, it goes to.
Gotcha.
Because I saw a description on the website about how about ask a reference librarian, the things a reference librarian can, but maybe because I had already gone past the homepage,
Yeah.
that's probably why. So I'll go back and look for it. But that's awesome. That's fantastic.
That's great.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other new business? No? Seeing none? The chair.
Oh, wait,
accept-
hold on.
oh,
No, I just, there's no questions from the public.
no question for the public. Okay. Any other new business? No, the chair will remind the trustees that our next meeting is Monday, November 9th at 2020. And at this point, it will still be via Zoom and will be recorded for Westwood television, right, as this meeting was.
Westwood Media.
No further new business, and I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Macy Phelps. Is there a second? Seconded by trustee Persons. Trustee Cole,
Aye.
trustee Persons,
Bye.
trustee Thornton. Aye. Oh, that's an aye. Aye. Trustee Phelps
Aye.
and trustee Van Au.
Aye.
And the chair also votes aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for taking part in this. And again, please stay safe, stay healthy, and the same for your family. And
Thank you.